Thank You for Being a Friend, The Golden Girls wasn't supposed to work. Four older women living together in Miami, telling sex jokes and eating cheesecake. NBC executives called it career suicide. But behind that lanai and those one-liners, nothing came easy. B. Arthur hated Betty White and tried to get her fired. The pilot was rewritten 7 times. And one actress wasn't supposed to play the role that made her famous. These are 20 secrets about the Golden Girls hidden for decades. And trust me, the bonus fact will leave you stunned. Picture it, Sicily, 1932. Just kidding. Fact 20. B. Arthur and Betty White had a bitter feud that started on the Maude set and continued throughout all 7 seasons.
B was not that fond of me, but
yeah, why no? I've heard that.
I don't know.
What is
I don't
that
know what
about?
I ever did. I don't know, but she was not.
Who's that at the door?
It's me, Blanche.
He's really brought new meaning to the word solicitous.
Here's something that will ruin your childhood. B. Arthur and Betty White despised each other from the moment they met, and the tension poisoned the set for 7 straight years. The feud began in 1972, when White guest starred on Maude playing B. Arthur's character's best friend. Arthur found White's bubbly personality grating and fake. White thought Arthur was cold and humorless. They clashed immediately during rehearsals. When the Golden Girls cast them together again in 1985, Arthur was furious. She told producers she didn't want to work with White. They promised to minimize their scenes together. On set, Arthur and White barely spoke between takes. Betty White would try to break the ice with jokes. B. Arthur would stare at her with contempt and walk away. Rue McClanahan and Estelle Getty had to mediate constantly. Scripts were rewritten to keep Dorothy and Rose apart in scenes whenever possible. Arthur refused to attend events if White was invited. At the final wrap party in 1992, they avoided each other completely. Betty White later said in interviews she never understood why B. Arthur hated her so intensely. Arthur took the reason to her grave in 2009. The on-screen friendship was pure professional acting, masking real animosity. Fact 19. Rue McClanahan and Betty White were both supposed to play opposite roles until the director made them switch at the last minute.
Oh, listen, Mary. Lots of times men are used to jest.
Rose, it would have been painful to have to go to work every day and play Rose.
The Golden Girls. You know, almost didn't exist because Rue McClanahan and Betty White were originally cast as each other's characters. NBC executives saw Betty White as the promiscuous Southern Belle Blanche and Rue McClanahan as the naive, dim-witted Rose. It made perfect sense based on their previous roles. White had played the man-hungry Sue Ann Nivens on Mary Tyler Moore. McClanahan had played sweet, innocent characters throughout her career. But director Jay Sandrich watched the first table read and realized something was terribly wrong. White and McClanahan were playing against types so hard they seemed uncomfortable. Sandrich called a break and pulled both actresses aside. He suggested they swap roles. Try playing against your established personas, he said. Betty White was skeptical. She'd built her career on playing sexually confident women. Playing dumb seemed like career regression. Rue McClanahan was nervous about playing overtly sexual after years of wholesome characters. But they tried it. The chemistry exploded immediately. Rose's naivety through Betty White's inherent sweetness was hilarious. Blanche's sexuality through Rue McClanahan's southern charm was perfection. NBC executives saw the new dynamic and approved the swap. That last-minute decision created the characters that defined both actresses' careers. If they'd played the original casting, the Golden Girls would have been completely different and likely forgettable. Fact 18. Estelle Getty was younger than B. Arthur in real life, but played her mother, and the age makeup process took 3 hours daily.
Some of the smart boys from Madison Avenue got onto the idea that there are a lot of older people in this country, more than there are younger.
Makeup to look a great deal older than you are, of course. It's a surprise
I'm
to see such
literally
a
young enough to be my own daughter.
Yeah.
I could.
Here's something that will blow your mind. Estelle Getty was actually 1 year younger than B. Arthur, but played her 80-something mother for 7 seasons. Getty was born in 1923, Arthur was born in 1922, yet Getty spent 3 hours in makeup every single day, transforming into Sophia Petrillo. The prosthetics were extensive. Jowls, age spots, wrinkles, liver spots, all applied daily. Getty had to arrive at the studio at 5 a.m. for makeup application before 7 a.m. rehearsals. The prosthetics were hot, uncomfortable, and caused skin irritation. Getty developed allergic reactions repeatedly throughout the series' run. Dermatologists treated her constantly for contact dermatitis. The physical toll was enormous. By season 5, Getty was exhausted from the daily makeup ordeal. She negotiated with producers for reduced makeup days, but they refused. Sophia's appearance was iconic and couldn't change. The makeup artists tried lighter materials, but the results looked wrong on camera. Getty powered through 7 seasons and 200 episodes of this torture. Meanwhile, B. Arthur wore minimal makeup because Dorothy was supposed to be younger. The irony wasn't lost on Getty, who privately resented the age discrepancy. She later said playing older than her actual age typecast her completely and destroyed opportunities for other roles. Fact 17. NBC almost canceled the show after season 1 because executives thought it was too niche for mainstream audiences. The Golden Girls.
Is there jealousy watching Rue in such a plum role?
I'm not jealous at all. It's just that I thought Sue Ann was,
I'm getting a very strong vibration. I see a woman in a white uniform writhing and screaming, and there's a man kneeling over her.
The Golden Girls almost ended after 1 season because NBC executives believed a show about old women had no long-term audience potential. The pilot premiered in September 1985 to solid ratings, but network brass remained skeptical. They'd greenlit the series reluctantly, viewing it as counter-programming experimentation. After season 1 wrapped, NBC executives held meetings about cancellation. The demographics were wrong, they argued. Advertisers wanted younger viewers. The show attracted older audiences and women, not the coveted 18 to 34 male demographic. NBC nearly moved The Golden Girls to Friday, night death slot, or canceled it outright. Then something unexpected happened. Saturday Night Live parodied The Golden Girls in a sketch that went viral before viral existed. Young audiences discovered the show through the parody and started watching ironically. Ratings jumped 20% with younger demographics. College students started watching the show in dorm rooms. The ironic viewing became genuine appreciation. NBC executives noticed the demographic shift and renewed the series. But they remained convinced the audience was temporary. Every season renewal was uncertain. The cast never felt secure about their jobs. The Golden Girls succeeded despite constant network doubts. It proved older women could anchor successful television if networks gave them the chance. NBC's skepticism nearly killed what became one of their most successful sitcoms ever. Fact 16. B. Arthur hated filming in front of live studio audiences and demanded they remove them after season 3.
Is there jealousy watching Rue in such a plum role?
I'm not jealous at all. It's just that I thought Sue Ann was,
I'm getting a very strong vibration. I see a woman in a white uniform writhing and screaming, and there's a man kneeling over her.
Bea Arthur despised live studio audiences, and her demands nearly changed The Golden Girls completely. The show filmed before live audiences from season 1 through season 3. Arthur found the audience intrusive and distracting. She couldn't concentrate on performance with hundreds of people watching. Audience laughter threw off her timing. She missed punchline deliveries, waiting for laughs to die down. After season 3 wrapped, Arthur told producers she was done with live audiences. Remove them or she'd leave the show. NBC executives panicked. The Golden Girls without Dorothy Zbornak was unthinkable. Producers negotiated a compromise. They'd film without live audiences, but add laugh track in post-production. Bea Arthur agreed reluctantly. She hated laugh tracks too, but preferred them to actual audiences. Starting season 4, The Golden Girls filmed on a closed set with only essential crew present. The other actresses adjusted to the change, though Rue McClanahan missed the audience energy. Betty White was relieved because audiences made her nervous despite decades of experience. The shift allowed more subtle performances and better camera work, but fans noticed. The laugh track sounded artificial compared to genuine audience reactions. Critics complained about the canned laughter. The Golden Girls lost some of its authentic, spontaneous magic after eliminating live audiences entirely to accommodate B. Arthur's demands. Fact 15. The iconic wicker furniture on the lanai was falling apart, and actors got splinters constantly during filming.
Well, girls, I did it. I finally broke down and bought that dress I've been eyeing for a month.
Oh, well, I thought you were going to wear the same silk one you wore to last year's banquet.
Isn't it wonderful how we always have such a good time together? It's been that way right from the start.
There's a sadness there. We're breaking.
That beautiful wicker furniture on the lanai that became iconic? It was a health hazard that injured the cast repeatedly for 7 seasons. The wicker chairs, sofa, and table were purchased cheaply for the pilot from a rental house. They looked perfect on camera, but were old, brittle, and deteriorating. Within months of filming, the wicker started cracking. Splinters became a constant problem. B. Arthur got a splinter in her hand during season 1 that required medical attention. Betty White sat down during a scene, and wicker snapped, nearly causing her to fall. Estelle Getty's costumes got caught on broken wicker constantly. Wardrobe had to repair Sophia's dresses multiple times per episode. Producers discussed replacing the furniture, but decided against it. The wicker had become too associated with the show's visual identity. Instead, they assigned a prop master to sand and repair the furniture weekly. It was a losing battle. The more they filmed, the worse the wicker deteriorated. By season 7, the furniture was held together with glue, wire, and prayer. Actors had to sit carefully in specific spots to avoid collapse. Between takes, crew members would inspect the furniture and reinforce weak points. The final season, the wicker was so bad, producers wanted to replace it. B. Arthur refused because it would look wrong for the series finale. Fact 14. Dorothy's signature. Deep voice was actually B. Arthur's real voice, but NBC executives wanted her to pitch it higher and more feminine.
Merv, I don't know what to say. I mean, this gets to be so boring. I don't mean your question. No, I mean,
I cannot believe a person would push a perfect stranger out of the way, step on her hand, and give her an elbow to the forehead just for
B. Arthur's iconic Dorothy voice nearly didn't exist because NBC executives thought her natural voice was too masculine for television. Arthur had a distinctively deep, authoritative voice that defined her career. But when she auditioned for the Golden Girls, network brass were concerned. They asked if she could make her voice softer and more feminine for the role. Arthur was insulted. She'd used her real voice successfully for decades on stage and television. She refused to change. NBC pushed back. Test audiences might find her too harsh, they argued. Arthur stood her ground. "This is my voice," she said. "Take it or cast someone else." Creator Susan Harris supported Arthur completely. Dorothy was supposed to be strong and no nonsense. A deep voice enhanced that. The pilot filmed with Arthur's natural voice. Test audiences loved it. Dorothy's voice became part of her authority and humor. The contrast between her deep voice and Rose's high-pitched sweetness created comedy gold. NBC executives admitted their mistake. B. Arthur's voice became so iconic that impressionists exaggerated it even deeper. Drag queens built entire acts around imitating Dorothy's voice. Arthur later said, "The voice controversy was the most insulting moment of her career." Suggesting women needed high voices to be likable revealed the sexism she'd fought throughout her life. Fact 13. Rue McClanahan wore a different nightgown in every episode and personally selected, each one to define Blanche's sexual confidence.
I ran into this man at the produce counter, and he asked me to play tennis with him tonight, but I forgot that Big Daddy's baby brother, my dearest and nearest... Sexy and strong and so attractive, and men will find it so too.
Rue McClanahan took Blanche's wardrobe incredibly seriously and personally curated every nightgown and bedroom outfit over 7 seasons. McClanahan understood Blanche's sexuality defined the character. The wardrobe had to reflect that visually. She demanded creative control over her costume choices specifically for bedroom scenes. The costume department would present options, and McClanahan would reject most of them. Too prudish, she'd say. Too matronly. Blanche would never wear that. She wanted silk, lace, revealing necklines, and colors that popped on camera. McClanahan visited costume shops personally to find pieces that felt authentically Blanche. She owned several nightgowns from the show because she bought them herself. NBC censors constantly battled with McClanahan over how much cleavage was appropriate for 8 p.m. television. She pushed boundaries deliberately. The nightgowns became a running joke among fans who watched to see what Blanche would wear next. McClanahan never repeated a nightgown in over 200 episodes. The commitment to variety was exhausting, but she maintained it religiously. Costume designers later admitted McClanahan knew Blanche's aesthetic better than anyone on the creative team. Her wardrobe choices made Blanche's sexuality sophisticated rather than cheap. Fact 12. The cheesecake eating was real, and Betty White gained 20 pounds during filming because she couldn't stop eating between takes. Those iconic cheesecake scenes weren't fake. The actresses ate real cheesecake take after take, and Betty White gained significant weight because of it. The cheesecake became a signature visual element of the show. Producers wanted authentic eating on camera, not actors pretending. So, craft services provided real New York-style cheesecake for every scene. The problem was filming required multiple takes. Each take meant more cheesecake. A single scene might require 10 takes. That's 10 forkfuls of cheesecake, sometimes 20. Betty White couldn't stop herself from finishing every bite. Between takes, she'd eat more. Rue McClanahan developed techniques to fake eating by cutting tiny pieces. B. Arthur would spit cheesecake into napkins between takes. Betty White just kept eating. By season 3, she'd gained 20 pounds. Her costumes had to be let out. Wardrobe fittings became uncomfortable conversations. White didn't care. She loved cheesecake and embraced the weight gain. NBC executives suggested using fake cheesecake made from mashed potatoes. White refused. Real cheesecake or nothing. The weight gain became noticeable on screen. Dorothy made jokes about Rose gaining weight that were added specifically because Betty White had actually gained weight. White later admitted the cheesecake scenes were the best part of filming. Fact 11. Sophia's purse became an iconic prop because Estelle Getty needed something to do with her hands and started improvising with it. Sophia's wicker purse wasn't originally in the script. Estelle Getty brought it herself because she felt uncomfortable on camera without hand props. Getty came from theater, where she always had something to hold or manipulate during scenes. The television set felt empty to her. During early rehearsals, she felt awkward standing with her arms hanging uselessly. Getty brought a small wicker purse from home to the first table read. She held it during her lines. Director Jay Sandrich noticed how naturally Getty incorporated the purse into Sophia's physicality. He told her to keep it. The purse became Sophia's security blanket. Getty would clutch it, swing it, set it down emphatically for punctuation. The purse developed comedic life. Writers started adding jokes about what Sophia kept in the purse. Condoms, medications, photos, sandwiches. The purse became a running gag. Getty improvised business with the purse constantly. She'd smack people with it, hide behind it, use it as a prop for dramatic emphasis. The purse became so associated with Sophia that Estelle Getty received hundreds of replica purses as fan gifts. The Smithsonian requested the original purse for their television history collection. Getty donated one, but kept her actual filming purse until her death. Fact 10. The show was supposed to end after season 7, but NBC forced one more season. And the cast resented every episode.
Dorothy's morning.
I have a warrant for your arrest. I'll have to ask you to come with me.
What for?
Violation of the city's housing codes.
Golden Girls, episode number 180.
Face it, nothing lasts forever. You're going to get married?
Season 8 of The Golden Girls shouldn't exist. The cast was done after season 7, and NBC's interference created resentment that destroyed the show's magic. By 1991, all 4 actresses were ready to move on. B. Arthur was especially adamant about ending. She was 69 years old and exhausted. 7 seasons was enough. The cast agreed season 7 would be their last. Then NBC stepped in. The Golden Girls was still their highest-rated Saturday night program. Advertisers were paying premium rates. The network wasn't ready to lose that revenue. NBC offered the cast massive salary increases to return for season 8. Betty White and Rue McClanahan agreed to the money. Estelle Getty needed income and signed on. B. Arthur refused initially. She wanted out. NBC threatened to continue the show without her. Arthur reluctantly signed, but made her misery known on set. Season 8 was tense. Arthur counted down episodes until completion. The scripts felt stale. Writers were out of ideas. The chemistry was forced. Everyone was going through the motions. The series finale in 1992 was anticlimactic because the cast had already mentally checked out. B. Arthur walked off, set the moment filming, wrapped without saying goodbye to anyone. She later said, Season 8 felt like artistic betrayal for financial gain. Fact 9. Estelle Getty was suffering from undiagnosed dementia. During the final seasons and forgot her lines, so frequently they hid cue cards around the set.
And I do a lot of work for senior citizens, and I lecture a lot to senior citizens because they believe me. I don't know why they believe me, they just believe me. And
Listen, you look so beautiful.
Oh, thanks, Ma.
Who's the designer? He deserves a Nobel Prize for miracle.
This fact is heartbreaking. Estelle Getty began showing signs of dementia during season 6, but nobody understood what was happening. Getty was only in her mid-60s, but started forgetting lines during table reads. At first, everyone assumed she was tired or distracted, but it got worse. During filming, Getty would forget where she was mid-scene. She'd stop talking and look confused. Directors would call cut, and Getty would apologize profusely. She was embarrassed and frustrated. The cast thought she wasn't preparing properly. Tension developed. B. Arthur made comments about Getty being unprofessional. By season 7, Getty couldn't memorize scenes at all. Producers made accommodations. They hid cue cards around the set behind furniture, on refrigerators, held by crew members. Getty would read her lines off cards while trying to make it look natural. Her performance suffered noticeably. Viewers noticed Sophia seemed less sharp. Critics called Getty's performance lazy. Nobody knew she was battling early onset Lewy body dementia. The disease was stealing her memory and cognitive function. Getty's family didn't get the diagnosis until 2000. By then, the Golden Girls had been over for 8 years. Looking back, the signs were obvious. Estelle Getty suffered through those final seasons confused and scared, while everyone around her thought she just wasn't trying hard enough. Fact 8. Dorothy's signature oversized glasses and muumuu dresses were Bay Arthur's way of hiding her body. Because she hated how she looked on camera. Bay Arthur's iconic Dorothy look was born from deep insecurity about her appearance. Arthur hated her neck, her jawline, and her body shape. She thought cameras made her look masculine and unattractive, so she designed Dorothy's wardrobe to hide everything she disliked about herself. The oversized glasses concealed her face. The loose-fitting muumuu dresses hid her body completely. Costume designers wanted to dress Arthur in more form-fitting, feminine clothing. Arthur refused. She demanded high necklines to cover her neck, loose sleeves to hide her arms, long skirts to conceal her legs. The muumuus became Dorothy's signature because B. Arthur felt safest in them. Arthur once told an interviewer she'd rather quit than wear tight clothing on television. The glasses were B. Arthur's own prescription lenses, made oversized deliberately. She thought they made her face look smaller and more proportional. Behind the scenes, Arthur wore shapeless clothing constantly. She avoided mirrors on set. Other cast members noticed but didn't comment. Betty White later said, Arthur's insecurity was heartbreaking because audiences loved Dorothy exactly as she was. The muumuus and glasses became fashion statements. Women copied the look. Arthur never believed people actually found her attractive. She spent 7 seasons hiding herself behind fabric and frames, while millions adored her. Fact 7. The show tackled AIDS. In 1980-90, when most networks refused and the episode nearly got banned from southern markets. The Golden Girls aired one of television's most groundbreaking AIDS episodes in 1990 and faced massive backlash that nearly got it pulled from broadcast. The episode's 7 2-hours featured Rose potentially exposed to HIV through a blood transfusion. The script addressed AIDS hysteria, testing, and stigma directly. NBC executives were terrified. AIDS was still considered a taboo topic for family. Sitcoms. Advertisers threatened to pull sponsorship. Religious groups organized boycotts. Southern affiliate stations warned they might refuse to air the episode. Creator Susan Harris fought for the episode. AIDS was killing thousands. Television had a responsibility to address it. Betty White supported the episode completely. The network compromised by adding content warnings and moving the airtime later. When it aired, the response was overwhelming. AIDS organizations praised the episode for humanizing the crisis. Viewers wrote thousands of letters thanking the show. But backlash was equally intense. Stations in Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi refused to broadcast the episode. It was banned from syndication in certain markets for years. Religious groups called the episode propaganda promoting homosexuality. Death threats were sent to NBC executives. The Golden Girls proved sitcoms could tackle serious social issues. The AIDS episode remains one of television's most important moments, demonstrating how entertainment can educate and reduce stigma during public health crises. Fact 6. Rue McClanahan was married 6 times in real life, and writers used her actual divorce stories for Blanche's failed relationships.
Well, thanks again for the ride home, Dirk. I'll see you at Tuesday's jazzercise class.
I'll see you then.
Okay.
Unless I see you before then. I mean, if you wouldn't mind, maybe we could go out.
Oh, I'm perfect for the role of Blanche. She said, well, they have Betty White.
Rue McClanahan's chaotic personal life became fodder for Blanche Devereaux's storylines. McClanahan was married 6 times throughout her life. Each marriage ended badly. During the Golden Girls run, she went through 2 divorces. Writers noticed the parallels and started asking McClanahan for details about her failed relationships. McClanahan would share stories during table reads, and writers would incorporate them into scripts. Blanche's desperation for male attention reflected McClanahan's real relationship patterns. Her fear of aging alone mirrored McClanahan's actual anxieties. The character's string of failed romances came directly from McClanahan's life. Critics accused Blanche of being a desperate caricature. McClanahan defended the character fiercely because Blanche was fundamentally her. During season 5, McClanahan went through a painful divorce from husband number 5. She brought that raw emotion to Blanche's storylines about heartbreak. The vulnerability was real. McClanahan later admitted playing Blanche became therapeutic. She could process her romantic failures through comedy. The character's endless optimism about finding love, despite constant disappointment, was McClanahan's own coping mechanism. She married for the 6th time in 1997, 5 years after the Golden Girls ended. That marriage finally lasted until her death in 2010. Rue McClanahan spent her life searching for the love Blanche never found. Fact 5. The Golden Palace. Spin-off failed because B. Arthur refused to appear and the show lost its anchor.
Thank you for being a friend.
Dorothy! Oh, I can't believe you're really here. Oh, look at you. You never look more beautiful.
The Golden Palace tried to continue without Dorothy and collapsed immediately. When the Golden Girls ended in 1992, NBC wasn't ready to let go. They developed a CAS spin-off where Rose, Blanche, and Sophia buy a Miami hotel. The Golden Palace premiered in September 1992. B. Arthur refused to participate in any capacity. Arthur had fought to end the Golden Girls. She wasn't returning for a spin-off under any circumstances. NBC offered her massive money. She turned it down. They begged her to appear in the pilot. She refused. The Golden Palace premiered without Dorothy Zbornak, and audiences immediately noticed the void. The chemistry was broken. Dorothy had been the straight woman anchor. Without her, the comedy felt unbalanced. Blanche and Rose played off each other, but missed Dorothy's sarcasm. Sophia had nobody to torment effectively. Ratings were terrible from the premiere. Critics called the show a hollow imitation. NBC added new characters to fill the Dorothy void. Cheech Marin and Don Cheadle joined the cast. Nothing worked. The Golden Palace was canceled after 1 season and 24 episodes. B. Arthur never commented publicly about the failure. Betty White later said, "The Golden Palace proved the Golden Girls required all 4 women. Removing one destroyed the formula completely." Fact 4. Betty White. was the only cast member who attended Estelle Getty's funeral, and the other's absence devastated Getty's family.
Very big at giving dinner parties, you know. She does a lot of entertaining.
Oh, do you, Estelle?
Oh, yeah. I've been at her home. And she said, yes.
When Estelle Getty died in July 2008, Betty White was the only Golden Girls cast member who attended her funeral. B. Arthur and Rue McClanahan both skipped it. Getty's family was heartbroken and angry about the absences. Getty had considered her castmates family for 7 seasons. They'd worked together through illnesses, divorces, and personal struggles. When Getty's health declined in the 2000s, Betty White visited her regularly. Arthur and McClanahan did not. Getty's son said his mother asked about Bea and Rue constantly toward the end. She wondered why they never came. She worried she'd done something wrong. Betty White was at Getty's bedside days before she passed. At the funeral, White delivered a eulogy through tears. She looked around for Bea and Rue. They weren't there. B. Arthur released a statement saying she was too ill to travel. Rue McClanahan claimed prior commitments. Getty's family didn't believe either excuse. The funeral absence created permanent bitterness. When B. Arthur died 1 year later, in 2009, Getty's family felt no sympathy. Rue McClanahan died in 2010. Betty White was the last Golden Girl standing. She carried guilt about her castmates' coldness toward Estelle Getty until White's own death in December 2021 at age 99. Fact 3. The show was based on creator Susan Harris's mother and grandmother living together, and the cheesecake scenes came from real family dinners.
Babe. I got you, babe. I got you, babe.
Very often we find our families outside of our family, and it's very reassuring to have.
The Golden Girls originated from creator Susan Harris's actual family dynamics. Harris's mother and grandmother lived together in a Miami condo during the 1980s. Harris would visit them and observe their relationship. Her grandmother was feisty, inappropriate, and told shocking stories. Her mother was practical and sardonic. The contrast fascinated Harris. She started taking notes during family dinners. Her grandmother would eat dessert, first claiming life was too short. Her mother would roll her eyes but play along. Those observations became Dorothy and Sophia's relationship. The cheesecake scenes came directly from Harris's family tradition. After dinner, they'd sit with dessert and talk for hours. Harris recreated that ritual for the Golden Girls. 4 women sitting around eating cheesecake and discussing life. The other characters were composites of her mother's friends. Blanche was inspired by a sexually confident widow. Rose was based on her mother's naive Midwest friend. Harris pitched the show as a comedy about aging women supporting each other through life's challenges. NBC was skeptical, but Harris's previous success with soap gave her leverage. The Golden Girls became her love letter to her mother and grandmother. Both women watched every episode before they passed away. Harris later said, creating the show allowed her to honor the women who shaped her life. Fact 2. Sophia's signature purse and Sicily stories were created because Estelle Getty couldn't remember her lines without physical and verbal cues.
Do they have chores in Sicily?
Are you kidding? They invented chores in Sicily. Crossing the street without getting pregnant was a chore in Sicily.
Well, Dorothy, I'm ready to go to work. How do I look?
You look adorable.
Adorable? I want to look aggressive, powerful like a...
Sophia's Picture at Sicily stories and her ever-present purse weren't creative choices. They were accommodations for Estelle Getty's declining memory. As Getty's undiagnosed dementia worsened, she struggled to remember scripted dialogue. Writers developed the Sicily stories as a memory aid. The phrase, "picture at Sicily," became Getty's verbal cue that she was about to tell a long story. The consistent opening gave her brain time to access the rest of the monologue. Getty could memorize the stories better when they followed that pattern. It became a crutch she relied on completely. The purse served a similar function. Getty would touch it, hold it, clutch it during scenes. The physical prop grounded her and helped her remember where she was. Directors noticed Getty's performance improved when she had the purse. Without it, she looked lost. The purse became Sophia's security object, but really it was Estelle Getty's cognitive anchor. Writers leaned into both the Sicily stories and the purse. making them signature elements. What audiences saw as brilliant character development was actually creative problem-solving around an actress's declining mental health. The tragedy is, nobody understood what was really happening. Getty suffered silently while everyone adapted around her symptoms without knowing the cause. Her struggles became iconic comedy elements masking a heartbreaking deterioration. Fact 1. Bea Arthur's decision to leave the show was actually because she was diagnosed with cancer and didn't want anyone to know.
Well, it's been an experience that I'll always keep very close to my heart. And that these are memories that...
You do. All right.
I hate them.
Well, let's try to make tonight an exception.
But, no, first of all, I know you're a good friend of Brian.
This is the darkest secret. Bea Arthur didn't leave the Golden Girls because she was tired. She left because she'd been diagnosed with cancer and didn't want to fight it publicly. In early 1992, Arthur received test results showing early-stage cancer. She was 70 years old. Doctors recommended treatment. Arthur decided against it privately. She didn't tell her castmates. She didn't tell producers the real reason. She simply announced she was done and wanted to end the show. Everyone thought she was being difficult or egotistical. The truth was, she didn't know how much time she had and didn't want to spend it filming television. Arthur's cancer went into remission without aggressive treatment. She lived another 17 years, but in 1992, she thought she was dying. That's why she fought so hard to end the Golden Girls, why she refused the Golden Palace. Why did she walk away without looking back? When Arthur died in April 2009, her family revealed she'd been battling cancer since the early 90s. Betty White learned the truth and was devastated. She'd resented Bea for years, thinking Arthur had been selfish. Understanding the real reason made White's grief unbearable. Bea Arthur spent her final Golden Girls season believing she was dying and nobody knew. Bonus fact, the theme song. Thank You for Being a Friend was originally written for disco, and the Golden Girls version almost didn't happen.
Thank you for being a friend. Travels down the road back again.
The iconic Golden Girls theme was never meant for the show. Thank You for Being a Friend was written and performed by Andrew Gold in 1978 as a disco pop song. It had moderate radio success, but faded into obscurity. Years later, in 1985, music supervisor George Allison Gouldstone was searching for a theme song. He remembered Gould's song and thought the lyrics fit perfectly. NBC executives hated the idea. Too old-fashioned, they said. Too slow. They wanted something contemporary and upbeat. Gouldstone commissioned Cynthia Fee to record a new version specifically for television. Fee slowed the tempo, added warmth, and made it feel intimate. The new arrangement was perfect. NBC still resisted. They tested multiple theme songs with focus groups. Thank You for Being a Friend scored the highest. The network reluctantly approved it. The theme became more famous than Andrew Gould's original version. Fee's recording became synonymous with the Golden Girls. When the show went into syndication, that theme song guaranteed instant recognition. Andrew Gold received royalties from the Golden Girls version until his death in 2011. He said the sitcom immortalized his song beyond anything he'd imagined. Without the Golden Girls, Thank You for Being a Friend would have remained a forgotten 70s disco track. The Golden Girls wasn't just cheesecake and laughter. It was feuds, illnesses, hidden pain, and complicated women creating accidental magic. Thank You for Being a Friend.